Welcome back to the RSBuddies Podcast. We've been friends for 15 years because of Runescape, and we like to yap about it. My name is MDGScape or Max, and my co-host is Zekzer or Dalton.
What's up? Today we have a very special guest. He's one of the best reviewers on YouTube when it comes to updates and anything really along those lines, opinions about upcoming updates. And he releases a lot of really good guides and a lot of content. We have Travag today.
Hey guys, thank you.
Really
Yeah,
excited to have you on, man. The other day, I guess Dalton had reached out to you, which is really cool that you even responded. And I had the name was familiar, and I was like, who's this guy? I'm gonna have to go check him out. And then I looked over at my other screen. I was halfway through your fletching mini game guide, the new fletching activity. I was like, oh no way! So that was like, oh my god, small world. I'm sure I've watched a bunch of your guides and just hadn't put two and two together, but. So
that's awesome.
Appreciate the help on that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Veil Totems is pretty fun activity as well.
Yeah, I didn't know where to start, but once I got into it, it's a cool activity. But yeah, I think what I really am interested in to start off with is kind of knowing your RuneScape journey. We've been playing this game for so long, and I'm always interested to see when people joined in and kind of a lot of people come and go. So if you would enlighten us a little bit on your journey up until now, I'd be very interested to know.
Sure, yeah. The first time I ever played RuneScape was in a public library when I was maybe 10 years old. And I loved it. It was awesome. I can't even tell you if it was classic versus RS2.
Okay.
I feel like it was RS2. I don't remember ever playing classic. Unlike a lot of people, I don't have the greatest memory of the people always talk about RuneScape. I feel like I played at a different era than a lot of people in some ways. So I did that, and then in high school I played a little bit for a few years. Same sort of love, just the mostly free to play though. I had membership once, and all I did was I went to Tree Gnome Village and did the agility course because I was agility seemed like the most interesting skill to me from a free to play perspective. I thought, because as a kid, and this is what's so weird about it, as a kid I'm like, this is gonna make me run faster.
Right.
That's what I thought. And it's just when I talk to all the people around me who also played RuneScape their whole life, they know so much. They oh yeah, remember when you did that quest and got the dragon longsword, and then during well Gothic sleep. I'm like, dude, I had none of that experience. Partially because I'm in free to play, but also how do you know all this information? I was just a kid. I don't remember. I know everything about Falador and Varrock and whatever, but I didn't feel like I knew the game at all. But yeah, so there's a bit of a dissonance there for me. But just I have vivid memories of fishing lobsters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then I didn't know there was a reboot coming. That's the other thing, is I feel like a lot of players were players, and then the server
RS3 came out.
Yeah, RS3, which I stopped playing when I logged. And again, I feel like I'm different, but I logged in one day and I was like, why is my damage hitting high numbers? I like it when it shows 10 and 12,
yeah,
not 120. And that's when I stopped playing. And I guess that's evolution of combat.
Well, that was a little bit before, I think.
Yeah.
I
think it was a year before they changed the whole scaling.
They changed it, and then little did everyone else know is that they changed it for the reason of we're changing this completely.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. See, the fact that you even know that, right? I can't tell. I didn't even know the update was coming. As far as I can tell, I think I was I think Hunter was maybe a skill that popped up one day, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And Slayer. And I was like, what the heck is that? So that's probably around the time I played. I still don't know. I can't give you a year or anything like that.
I think I'm piecing it together. That's interesting, though. I love, hearing people's relationship.
Am I older than most players, or am I younger? What direction am I in? I think
I'm about to hit 30. I'm about to hit 30.
Yeah, I'm 30.
I think older. I think there's this younger group that played and I don't know, maybe got membership and were more up to date with the evolution of combat. And maybe I was I don't know, I took a break or something. I don't know what happened, but it's a huge, I'll never figure it out.
That's okay.
But I never knew that there was going to be like a new server or anything like that. But in like 2000, I think like, I don't know, maybe 18 or so, 19, maybe 18, probably a little earlier. Someone mentioned that it existed, and I think maybe mobile had just come out, and that's when I kind of started playing again. And since then, I've pretty much been playing the whole time. Um, you take the breaks here and there, but yeah, been
And
pretty
you play
invested.
you play Iron Man?
I play Iron Man. I originally had a main, so when I got back into the game, I did a main, and I was having fun. I was very focused on like getting GP. I remember once I thought I lost like 2 million, and it was like the end of the world to me. And I was like, oh my god, I'm quitting this game. And then I found it in like the Grand Exchange like pending thing, and I'm like, oh, because I went into the wilderness like an idiot and got hit, but I thought I had all my cash on me. And I'm so happy that didn't happen because I probably wouldn't be here today. But eventually I got to Zulrah, and that was like my first piece of like doing old school RuneScape kind of content like that.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to learn. But eventually I was like, very quickly actually, I was just like, okay, so Zulrah is really good money, at least at the time it was. So like, do I just do this forever now? Right?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
problem.
and that account is still 17 like 50 total level from that experience. I created an Iron Man, and oh my god, it completely changed everything for me, and my game knowledge, like even my path to Zulrah was just like train this way, buy things this way. Like I didn't understand the game too much, but Iron Man kind of like helped me really understand like the deep details and how things are connected and stuff like that. Not to say like I think if you're doing a main nowadays, it's a lot better. Like when I was doing a main, there was no collection log, there was no like there's so many things that they've done that have like closed the gap between main and Iron Man in terms of like getting mains to like do content and appreciate getting items and stuff like that.
Right.
But it wasn't really a thing when I was playing. So yeah, then we made the Iron Man, and that's what we've been on since. I don't know what year it was, probably like 2019 or 20.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I find it also it's so funny because like Max and I play with a lot of people who are just mains. And it's so funny when you're like watching these people and they have like Zuck helms, they're like speed running Tob, they're speed running Chambers, and then they're like, "Can you help me? How do I do Temperos?" And
Yeah.
you're like,
Right.
"Wait a minute."
Yeah.
You're like, it's so funny because being an Iron really does make you go like, "Oh no, you have to do this part of the game." There's like steps to getting to you want better fishing, you gotta get to this part of the game. But I
Yep.
found it really interesting because I feel like one day, like I was just on YouTube and I was like looking up a guide for something, and your name just like popped up, and I was like, oh my god, this is like this is such like so many views. And then ever since that day, like every time you release a video that's like an update about this thing, I'm like, there's Travag, there's Travag. It's like
Yeah.
I felt like you came out of like nowhere, like in the scene, and like exploded.
Maybe like I don't know. Like I think I originally was trying to do like this roguelike thing, which went okay, but then the viewership went down, and I was like, and then I came back maybe a couple years later and started making the type of videos I make now. And one of my goals too was like make videos like pretty consistently. I don't want to have to spend like 50 hours of progress to do something. So I think that might have helped to kind of like at least get videos out there more consistently and more often. I don't know. I'm like, it ebbs and flows. I wouldn't consider myself super popular or known. There's people who like to watch my content. There are people who like don't like my tactics perhaps, like I don't know, but generally it's been mostly positive. Like it's been fun, and ultimately like I'm just trying to create a video here and there every week or so, and maybe I could scale it in the future. That'd be awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. I think the stuff you're doing seems really helpful, and I think that's great. Also, like very personable, kind of having you on the screen talking to me while I'm learning fletching.
Yeah,
So I think that's a cool touch.
that's a choice. So I for like guides, I sometimes wonder if I should do that. In general though, like the choice of being on the screen and in the thumbnail, right, is like something I'm not 100% like I'm like 90% sure it's the right thing. I'm doing it because not a lot of people do it in old school RuneScape, like
Right.
creator space. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to make it, I want to make it about the guides, and I want to make it about the channel and the discussion, but I also want people to like kind of know me, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I do that. And sometimes putting myself in like thumbnails for guides feels a little strange, right? Versus discussions, I suppose. But yeah, it's a very much like an intentional choice of being like, hey, this is me. Like, you've seen me before. Like, let's talk, right? To hopefully build a little bit more of like that personable side, because there's so many creators out there, so many popular creators even, and it's just like you know them by their like avatar maybe,
Right.
right? But you might not know them as much as a person, or maybe you do if they're very popular.
Or if
But
they
there's
stream,
a
the streaming element really is more personable. But I think it's
yeah,
kind of nice that you're doing something different and bringing that to the YouTube side of things.
it's a little different, and also
Yeah,
like I feel like there's probably people out there where I've watched multiple videos of them, but I didn't realize
definitely.
because like it's like unless it's the same series, like they're the person who did this. I feel like when I'm like there, if you've watched me a couple times, you probably when you then see a thumbnail and stuff, you kind of are like, oh, this guy. So
Right.
it's a very intentional kind of branding choice, and I'm trying to like do it to not stick out, but just a lot of other games do this. Old
Right.
school
Yeah.
is in particular is like the way that it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it adds a little bit of layer of challenge when it comes to recording and stuff like that. But yeah,
Definitely.
hopefully it helps.
Yeah, it made me think, because not to plug my own stuff, but on my main channel, I think I got 7 million views on my shorts. I mostly make short RuneScape content. I got, I think, 7 million views last year, and I don't think people ever really like associate it with my name or me, because it's like you don't, unless you have something to brand yourself, you don't really, it doesn't stick in their head. So I mean, shorts are different than long form, obviously, but I think it is working for you very well. So I would
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
when I think
say
about
it's
that, I think of
successful.
like you, Idol, and Jimmy. Like that's who I think of
Yeah,
that's
when I think of like
right.
crazy.
when I no,
That's
I really no, I know Jimmy and Idol are like massive, but like when I think of people in my head where I'm like, okay, these people who like speak and like talk to the camera, I literally think of you like you three, and you're the
that's
only ones.
awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
You're the only
That's
ones
a
I
good
think of.
thing.
Yeah.
The only things I've ever got related to Jimmy are like comments in a negative light of like
Oh,
Jimmy
really?
Well,
to
yeah.
like Jimmy Light or whatever, budget
Well,
Jimmy, I don't know, stuff like that. And it's just like I I've watched a lot of Jimmy's videos, right? He's made some really great content. We make very different types of videos. I respect his like storytelling and stuff like that. I don't put as much like effort towards that, and the type of videos I do, right? Guides and discussion aren't really that either, right? But at the same time, I'm like, brother, like Jimmy did not invent talking in front of a green screen. Like
yeah.
Right.
this is
Yeah.
like a well-established format. Just because it's kind of weird in old school RuneScape doesn't mean it's not something that like exists for the. I when I was a kid, I used a green screen. I put up like Bristol board on my wall, like green Bristol board, and like played around with the green screen effect. So yeah, I'm happy to be in the same breath in a positive light. So that's good to hear.
Dude,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize Jimmy would also say what you're saying. Like Jimmy would be
Yeah.
like, I didn't invent saying it. A lot of these negative comments, I think a lot of like I'm not like I haven't been in like the content creation scene like my whole entire life, and now doing this like podcast, like we started like 4 months ago, and it's like doing pretty well by my own standards of like looking at stuff, and it's weird because like there's like a slew of positive comments, but then there's like one negative comment, and I have to be like, okay,
That's the
I need to
one.
yeah, I need to take
And
a second. I need to take a second and be like, oh, like, okay, this is one person. Like it's not a big deal. And like, you're putting your thoughts and ideas out there. And a lot of the time you're like bullshitting about the thoughts and ideas. They're not even like real thoughts and ideas. And you're like, and the people are like, oh, you're a fucking moron. And I'm like, oh, dude, calm down.
Or like it's one part of the video and it's like, oh, come on. It's like there's another
right.
like 15 minutes that you're,
Yeah,
Yeah. And you know
completely
what's funny?
misconstruing you. It's
It's
like
funny,
crazy.
Dalton, too, because you used to get on me for like, every once in a while I'd be like,
Oh,
oh, that's a mean comment, whatever. And you would get on me for like, why do you care what these people say? And then now you're getting them every
dude,
once in a while, and you're like, oh,
I'll
it's
call
stewing on
normal.
it.
It's
Yeah.
normal. You get the thicker skin or whatever, but it's still like it's still normal. Like I've been doing YouTube a long time, not like specifically like RuneScape. I used to do League of Legends stuff, right?
Mhm.
And I was much more well known in the League of Legends space than I am in the old school space. So I'm used to like a lot more noise.
Okay.
I had like a series that people constantly called fake, right? So I got used to kind of like that, like thick skin. But I
Gotcha.
was younger. A
Yeah.
different perspective when I made videos back in the day. I was kind of just doing them, here and there, whatever. I should have probably kept it up because it was actually it was going pretty well. But
Had a
but
similar thing
I
happen.
got bored
Yeah.
of the game.
That's interesting though. I didn't know. That's also good context to your backstory too. That's cool to know.
Yeah, sometimes people still reference the League of Legends stuff, which is crazy.
That's cool.
Quick little tangent. Quick little thing. What'd you do in League? What was
So
the video ideas?
I made some like comedy type videos, right? And we got a good range of like 500K up to 1 million.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Long form. But my biggest series was one where I had a friend like draw champions in League of Legends, but he like can't see what they look like. He knows nothing
That's
about the
cool.
game. And then at the same time, I see what he draws, and it's kind of like we share at the end. So I describe it to him. I'm like, this person is this, or I'll read the lore of the person, and he'll draw it. And that was a very popular series. Like the first one I released, 500,000 views, like right out the
Whoa.
gate. Like I got like 6,000 subscribers overnight and everything like that.
Oh my god.
Wild.
And then that climbed up to like 80,000 or so. But I like slowed down basically doing it. But that was my most popular kind of series. But in sort of Travag fashion, I still did the type of videos that I do now, which is like theory videos or stuff like that. But it was mostly comedy, short form, very different outlook on what YouTube was at that time of my life as well. Now I treat it more like not as a business or anything like that. Like it's a very small thing I'm doing, but I understand the value of like being consistent and trying to engage with people and
Yeah.
make videos that are like intentionally grabbing, hopefully in the first 30 seconds, stuff like that.
Right. It's kind of all the stuff you need to feed the algorithm these days, but
yeah.
So just stuff, points of curiosity for all of us, I think. So we appreciate you kind of shedding some light on that from our perspective, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Dalton, do you have any other like kind of RuneScape topics you wanted to?
Yeah, now that we got the first thing is I wanted to talk about the little bit of the sailing debacle that went down. So we were talking a little bit before about, you said you've been so busy you haven't really had a chance to keep up with some of the updates, but I just so I could give it to the audience too. Recently, like the sailing combat changes did not go over well. People are very upset about the cannon's not doing enough damage, that the shadow is just best in slot in sailing combat. So the question I would have is, what do you think Jagex can do, or what would you do if you were Jagex, I guess, to make the sailing combat like more, I guess, just better, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. So like better is like I definitely I'm pretty certain they're not going to try to do like a giant rework. So better has to be under the context of like better under the current system we have.
Yes.
Right? Because there are probably potentially better ways they could do it from the ground up. But from development early on, like it was very clear combat was the struggle for them. It was like the only thing that wasn't in like the alpha showcase. Like when we first got to get into sailing, it was like combat's not here, right? It didn't show up until the second time around, right? It was very clear combat was like the pain point. And they finally got something that was like serviceable, and you could even argue maybe wasn't completely like fleshed out and ready for launch, right? Given that it took him so long to do that, the idea of them potentially trying to rework the entire system, I don't necessarily think is worth its time. You could argue that because it's early in the sailing's journey, that maybe it is worth the time. But yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. They probably want to move on to other things. But in terms of what they could do to make it better, honestly, the sailing update that they did recently, like a lot of people complained. And I put a lot of that on a couple factors that aren't even necessarily like the combat being bad. It's like the blog post that they put together, for example, like was very much not focused on the right things at all. I mean, kind of was, but there's so many good kind of things they did during this update that they didn't like vocalize properly, in my opinion. And then the worst thing they did was introduce that monster with 15 armor, right? Because that just is a case where people talk about the shadow being super strong and etc. It's because that thing has 15 armor. Your cannons are useless. Yeah. And also, little tangent about armor, right? Like I was like, oh wow, like shadow is basically hitting the max hit on this. Like I guess it's a bug, right? Like that it's doing that. And then, people tell me, no, actually like armor, if you go to the wiki page, like magic goes through armor, right?
Right.
And I'm like,
so, and maybe you're doing that because it like makes sense or whatever. I absolutely cannot stand that that's the case. I don't want armor to be treated differently from magic, because the whole point of armor is that it makes higher hitting weapons more valuable, usually slower weapons, right?
Yeah.
When you do that and you build that, and then the opposite, right? When you have fast weapons, when there's negative armor, right, is better. When you're just like, oh, but then magic goes through this thing, it's like, okay, so is this basically just going to be a magic best in slot lever? Like in the future, if we want to make something that's high armor because we want like a weapon like the Elder Maul to do, not specifically Elder Maul, but a weapon like that to do well, how do you balance around the fact that a magic weapon is just going to be able to keep up or surpass it?
Right.
So I don't think that should be a thing. That's the tangent there on armor. Like it should just affect
What
everything on a static level.
while you're on armor, does magic affect does negative armor affect magic? Like I have no idea. Like if something has -4 armor, does magic hit higher?
It's also
I have
weird,
no
right? I
clue.
think magic does hit higher, because
Oh,
I think when I was
interesting.
investigating Twin Flame Staff, the double hit, I intentionally went to something with negative armor, and if I recall correctly, I was getting like boosted DPS because I had 2 hit splats, right?
Yeah.
Huh. Is that just
That's so
Nogwas right
weird.
now?
Oh, there's
No, there's a few
there's a
creatures that
few.
have
Okay.
negative, not just
Yeah.
Nogwas.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it's not balanced around any of that, with the magic not being part of that system, and also they'll like try to. I think they threw on like 300 and something magic defense on these new Krakens, but then the confliction gauntlets basically make that like null anyway. So yeah, it just seems kind of
Yeah.
sloppy and confusing. And
So I wouldn't have had that armor modifier at all. Like that wouldn't have been there. Or it would have been a lot lower, because I think people are saying the shadow is super strong. Like a lot of the people went to go test the sailing update. A lot of my information, by the way, is from like the first couple days of this update. I'm sure a
Mhm.
lot has happened since. But a lot of people, obviously, when they logged in, went to go check out the new vampires and do that content. When I logged in, I went to like all the creatures and I tested different creatures, right? So I had like a different sense than some people.
Right.
It like the update felt pretty fine against other things. Like when I went to go do the vampire krakens, like it felt okay, right? I do think
Yeah.
that cannons generally should still deal more damage. I do like that your gear now uh deals like full damage, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, like they compensated the HP to like allow you to do that, which is good. But once again, in the blog post, they also said like they basically gave you a list of changes, being like, oh, this is gonna make cannons better, cannons better, cannons better, and then they kind of like invalidated themselves by saying, oh, but like everything's gonna remain the same kills per hour, and it's like, oh, why would you write that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
And you know
Not
what?
why would you write that because it's gonna be negative, but also like I don't even know if you can convince yourself that's true. Because when I went to Vampire Krakens and I went to the safe spot, like that safe spot, typically I'm firing with 1 cannon. Now I'm firing with 2. Like I am getting more kills per hour,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm able to Tebow 75s on the so like when this update dropped, I was like, I don't need anything from those like new Krakens they added. So I went over to Vampire Krakens and I was just like Tebowing them 75. I was like, this update's amazing. I was like, I'm killing these things close to twice as fast. I'm taking a lot less damage. But then I looked at the thing and I had to like reframe my mind to be like, oh, if you don't have max gear, I think
Right.
a lot of this would be like horrible. And then on top of that, what you said is immediately what I thought, Travag, was that all these people are going to kill this new like Kraken. And I remember going over there and I don't have like a shadow on my iron. So we're like 1,300 dry on our group iron of shadow. It's crazy,
Oh
but
wow.
that's besides the point. But 1,300 like 400s dry. It's crazy, but that's besides the point. But I went over to the other Krakens and I was like, the difference of how bad the new Krakens felt versus
Yeah.
how good vampire Krakens felt was
Yeah.
like beyond me. I was like, oh, these feel horrible. Like, are cannons affected by flat armor too? Like, it felt like they were, and they for sure they should not be affected by flat armor, like on the water. It's just it's all weird. Why
Yeah.
even add the flat armor in the first place?
It's
Just make the
it's a
health a little bit
bizarre
higher.
choice. Yeah.
I mean,
I went
I
right
like
to the new ones, and I did like 1,000 of them right off the bat, and just was happy that I wasn't burning through cannonballs. But once I realized everyone was upset about it, and they also released the numbers of how many had been killed. I don't think that many people were killing them. I think they tried it and then just left, because I had killed like
Mhm.
1/200th of every Kraken that had been killed by like day 3 or 4. So I think people, went and didn't like it, and I was just happy with the Ava's device and everything. But
Yeah, the Ava's device is kind of sick, but yeah, maybe armor. Yeah, maybe instead of magic being the one thing that armor ignores, maybe it's like, I don't know. Maybe you could argue that it's like cannons ignores armor, because then you actually would kind of solve the problem of cannons not dealing enough damage.
yeah,
But I'm still not like I still feel like that's somewhat convoluted. I think you could still crank up the HP of the monsters a little bit further, and raise the damage of the cannons further, and that will close the gap further between
Yeah.
cannons and thing. I don't want to get to the point where cannons are hitting like hundreds. I know some people want that, but if cannons can feel like they're hitting well, a lot of things too. A lot of us don't have dragon cannonballs, but I don't know if you saw, like, dragon cannonballs, like they hit for like pretty damn hard. I had like
They hit hard, really hard.
yeah, I
Really?
know
I
when
thought it
you're
was
on the cannon, it's like
mild.
almost 60 or something like that.
It's
but, like,
really hard, Max. You hit
Okay.
really.
And is that new, or
Yeah.
was that like with the?
Um,
Because I thought the jumps were very like minor.
I
so
think. Go ahead. You go ahead, Travag.
I have some numbers when I was testing, like with Ruin at least. It seemed like my crewmates could max about a 25, and I was maxing a 53.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I
that's big.
imagine that dragons probably it's a fair chunk up. You probably close to 60. Granted, it's a 6-tick, and granted, it's still not worth it to be on the cannon, because even if you're hitting a 60, you're better off letting your crewmate hit a 30,
Yeah.
and then you deal your additional damage, which I think
Right.
is fine. I think that's fine. I just think they need to raise again the health a little bit further. The only thing it does is make ZCB a little bit better. I don't think that's a huge deal, because ZCB felt really good, by the way. Like,
Yeah, it
ZCB
does.
with light bearer, and if you're bringing like the double death charge, like you are hitting like 68 on the Krakens, like
Wow. Okay.
just for free for the most part. It was really good, but I'm okay with them bumping the HP even further just to make cannons better. I'm sure they'll come up with a solution. But yeah, they basically like wrote that blog in a very weird way, and then the ammo saving stuff was just like, oh, like they what did they say? We got the Ava device, and
Yeah.
then they said what was the other change that they made with? Oh, they made the cannons fire slower.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cannonballs.
Yeah, but it's like they didn't like, I don't think they properly vocalized how much you're saving. I like when I was doing the math, like you use 3.5 times less cannonballs than before the update.
Wow.
It does feel like you waste a lot less cannonballs.
Yeah.
I remember going there, and like I remember using 4,000 rune cannonballs pre-update, just killing like I don't remember what I was killing. But it was
Great
something
whites or
random.
something. Yeah.
It was great whites, yeah.
Mhm.
And that felt horrible. I was like, I don't even know. I've killed 10,000 frost dragons, and I have 10,000 rune cannonballs. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the supply, and
Or
I'm
you
not going to
think,
use all my
like-
rune bars.
Yeah. You think if I use rune bars, this would get me nothing. Like there's no way I would ever make cannonballs.
Yeah, well that's the thing is like one of the other parts of the update. So yeah, just to like, if you're firing the cannons all the time, you're using like 2,400 cannonballs per hour. That's like non-stop firing though, right? Unrealistic, but we'll just use that as a baseline. And now you're using under 700 per hour. Like, it's a massive difference. And
Yeah.
when you say 3.5 times, like I heard you, Max, you're like, wow, right? Like, if I read that in the blog, I would have been like, wow, shit, that's huge. The
Yeah.
blog didn't say that. The blog was
Yeah.
like, Ava's slow, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I had to go and do the math and test it. And I'm like, holy crap, you're saving a lot of cannonballs. This is actually awesome. And then when you do the math of like how much like a main would have to spend using rune cannonballs, it's like 500k an hour. That's like with like zero downtime though. Like, so it's
Right.
less than that. Definitely. It's probably like 400k an hour. And it's like mains can use just rune cannonballs, no problem now, which again, technically would also raise your DPS and probably your kills per hour, which like those things were not taken into account by a lot of people and within the blog post itself as well, that I think would have let the update land a lot better. So all those little details and the way they were shared, and players like not like maybe exploring the update as much, and then this horrible beast with 15 armor is how we kind of land where we are now.
Right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't market it well, because I don't know if it was in the blog, but they also were like, yeah, sorry, we didn't build any like lore quest or anything behind the new Ava's device. We didn't have time. Like,
Yeah.
they really just didn't market it well. I don't know if they said that in the blog or like in the live stream or whatever, but I also
think the
think
live stream,
a
yeah.
big, I mean, if you looked at the live stream or like any topic about it, I think everyone's still like, oh, but and the membership was raised for this, membership was raised, or we waited 4 months for you to fix it for this. So yeah, it just was like the
A lot
timing
of
and the
bad,
marketing.
bad blood and stuff right now too.
Yeah.
In
I
terms
also
of like that stuff, yeah.
I also feel like we just talked about this, but I feel like that turning bars into cannonballs at the same rate as you would for like dwarven cannonballs like feels really bad. I think they said that, I don't know if they doubled it, the amount that you get, but it still feels really bad. We were just talking about how like if you could put your alkables like into a furnace and pull like cannonballs out of it, it would feel a lot better, and it would also incentivize the smithing skill because let's say, okay, I go to blast furnace and I make 1,000 rune bars. Okay, now I took those 1,000 rune bars, I got the XP for them. Now I'm making plate bodies. Okay, now I can take these plate bodies, put them in this like Kovacs furnace, but it doesn't require you to do all the running around, and you could just pull cannonballs out of the alkables. Like there's so many ways that they could have done with the cannonballs too, because it just feels really bad. I think mostly I'm thinking from like an end game perspective, but even on a new account, we were talking about how, dude, to waste 1,000 addy bars and just make even
Crazy.
8,000 cannonballs on a new account is like you're like dooming someone to having no like addy bolts, and like it's just this weird thing where what am I going to do? Go and just buy myth cannonballs from the store? I'm going to have to like spam when the update drops so that I can get to the store before other people. It's like a crazy thing. I don't know.
Yeah. And
But
people's
yeah,
biggest complaint is that sailing feels like it's a separate thing in the game. Like it doesn't feel like as integrated as maybe it will be eventually or should be. And so to have things that disincentivizes people to go and interact with it on top of that is a little wild to me. Like and I don't know why they're married to like systems like, oh, it has to be 4 cannonballs, or you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. I think they'll make further improvements to the cannonball process. They are, right? I think they
yeah.
mentioned
Yeah, they
you're
definitely
gonna
are.
like be able to spend money now to make more or something like that.
I think there's a guy there now who will
On
unnote your
notes
stuff.
bars, like piles or files or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay, but it's okay. So it helps you increase the amount that you're making, but the
R-
cost is still the same, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
cost is going to be a
Okay.
GP cost on top for unnoting, but pretty much the
Yeah,
same. Yeah.
minimal GP cost,
Yeah.
probably, right? 50 or whatever.
I'm
per
guessing, yeah.
thing. Okay, that's fine. But it's good. That's gonna increase a lot, like the per hour, like a ton that you can make. So the other thing with this update that is like kind of was a little bit slept on in terms of like there was technically a little bit of good in here beyond, on the pile of bad reception. The ancient furnace, like they like removed a skeleton. That's what they said in the blog
Yeah.
post, right? And I'm like, okay, fine, sure. But like they didn't mention the fact that like when you combine the savings and how much you're using per hour alongside like the new furnace looks a lot better than it did before. So before, if you spend an hour at the new furnace, right, you'd make enough cannonballs to maybe last you like about 3 hours,
Okay.
we'll say, of like, kind of mostly using it with a little bit of downtime. But now that same 1 hour at that furnace gives you about 10 hours of
Way better.
time.
Yeah, way
Yeah,
better.
that is a big
Yeah.
difference.
It's a big difference. So you're spending from like whether it's a main doing it or what, I don't know if a main would, but like if an Iron Man's doing it, yeah, you do have to spend the bars. But Iron Man always has that thing where the resource upkeep, like how long do you have to spend farming or doing Zolra scales or whatever relative to the amount of content you get out of it. And like to me, like 1 hour for 10 hours of sail combat is like probably a decent trade-off compared to before where it was like 1 hour was maybe like 3 hours, right? So that's a good trade-off. And then you add the fact that guy's getting added there, that's probably going to increase the hope. It's honestly like just thinking about like not having to do the fairy ring and everything like that, probably double, right? You're probably going to be able to do like 12,000 an hour.
Right.
Which that's going to last you like 20 hours of game. 1 hour will last you like 20 hours of pure like sailing content. That's pretty good. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I do think that they still need to make improvements or anything like that. I just think, like you said, the membership stuff and then like just the way they positioned a lot of the update like led to a negative reception that probably could have been avoided. Probably not entirely avoided because sailing plus membership changes, but yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the membership changes being a part of that whole entire thing. That probably really soured people's point of view too. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But all right. Let's move on here. The next thing I wanted to talk about with you was actually Blood Moon Rises. So there's been a lot of interesting topics recently with like the leech fin sandwich and the new crush like dragon claws and all that stuff. But the first thing I wanted to ask you was Mod Rice developed the stepping stones at Yama, and he has like been quoted and saying, and we were just talking about this too, quoted in saying that like when Modash made the rock in My Arms Big Adventure throw a boulder at you, it like changed PVM forever. Do you think that Mod Rice, this is a loaded question, but do you think Mod Rice could be the person to make skill like a differences in skilling where it becomes more of like an end game activity? Because I know he's working on this bloodwood tree wood cutting,
Yeah.
and he said it's like totally different.
Yeah. I think Mod Rice is very passionate about skilling content and reframing what skilling content could be. So I think when you were alluding to I think what you're alluding there to Yama is when he mentioned that like the stepping stones is skilling in disguise. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, which is like a really cool way to think about it. And I think originally that was going to be in another it was like a game jam project for like a skilling activity, but then was like moved over to Yama. So I do like the idea of skilling being this like satisfying, engaging, and sometimes even like in disguise experience. And I think Mod Rice is like probably in a really good position, like when it comes to his thinking of what skilling can be in the future. It doesn't have to be what it's been in the past. It can still have that aspect of making things and chilling, but it could be something greater. And it also doesn't have to be mini games, right? Like
Right.
skilling doesn't have to be mini games. Like one thing I talked about when it came to Veil Totems, for example, is like Veil Totems is like an activity, not a mini game. That's somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not like in a confined area, right? You're not like it's like a living kind of breathing area with different activities to do, and maybe you're doing forestry and doing some totems, maybe you're running in a circle, right? Like that's somewhere in the middle where you can make you can maybe stop doing mini game type stuff as often and start doing activity-ish type stuff like that. And then generally, like I think he's also trying to focus on making skilling skilling catalysts, things that you can get from PVM that will like help you improve your skilling and will be worth it for both mains and Ironman. And I do think that that's an awesome approach, right? Because we've always said that resources on drop tables, right, are kind of a mess and stuff like that. And he commented on a video I did related to the abyssal worms, where I was kind of like deep diving into them. Which, by the way, time of the video, I was saying they're like 850 GP, the worms, and I think now they're like 2,000, which is just crazy. But
Yes.
but he commented on the video talking about like that's kind of his vision of like skilling and what he can do and how he wants to get the balance right. It's got to feel rewarding to get a drop like that, and whether you're an Ironman, you like when I see that drop, I'm like, yeah, that's like 100 anglers, that's awesome, right? But when a main gets it, is it still worth it? And it seems like for abyssal worms, they did a really good job.
Yeah.
It seems like for
Yeah.
shark lure, I don't know what they were thinking with shark lure.
Yeah, that shit sucks.
Yeah, by comparison, it's a complete mess. Like but they know what the right thing is, so that's fine. And I think Mod Rice is probably a good person to shepherd the new type of skilling activities we can see.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is, I think that it's something interesting with the shark lure versus the diabolic worms. I think shark lure is just, I think it might be just the fact that sharks aren't even, it sounds weird, but with the new updates, the food updates and everything, sharks aren't even close to best in slot food
Right.
anymore. So to have like an iron go and like fish for sharks, it doesn't even make sense in the brain anymore. It's like I'll go catch bluefin tuna or marlin or something that's more active and like end up with like 1,000 or like 700 to 1K fish per hour or something, where I'm getting like prayer points or I'm getting 24 heals. And I think that is probably a lot of the frustration with shark lure, where it's like, just drop the raw sharks still, because we already have to cook them. We already have to waste time doing that. And don't even get me started on the amount of food you really have to cook on an iron. Like, it's so much downtime, but regardless of that,
Yeah. No, dude.
It's ridiculous.
No, I definitely I hadn't even thought about the fact that you can go get way better fish at a higher rate. For me, shark lure, I was thinking the fact that it's hard to balance because you have minnows and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
For getting sharks. But no, that's a good point of I don't know. It's probably not. Shark is just too. Yeah, it's probably
It's too weak. Anglers have
weak.
kept their niche, where you heal above.
Right.
And
yeah. And speaking of skilling content, by the way, I am a huge stan of deep sea trawling. I think deep sea trawling is such good skilling content.
I'm excited to get into it. Or once I finish my boat, or once Dalton, you let me get on your boat and do a trawling adventure together.
Dude, we need to make a video.
It's the best. It's the best part of sailing.
Yeah,
it really is
100%. The XP rates, I know you could say the XP is rare. I'm just talking about the pure the gameplay, the loop, how it feels, going on these expeditions, the fishing crates,
and rare fish from everything. That's super interesting to me. I guess they have that with some other fish, but yeah,
it's awesome. I love
really
it.
Cool.
It's really awesome. I remember I remember diving into. It's funny diving into, but I remember starting doing my first when I got my sailing to 99. I started doing my first trips out to get I was I prefer bluefin over marlin, but then I'm getting bluefin and marlin because of the vibrant shoals.
Mhm.
It's way more AFK than I thought it was going to be. And even for mains, I think marlin are still 7K each or something.
They're crazy. So they're 7-8K.
You could pull 3.5 mil per hour or something doing, if my math's right.
It's right about there, yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 mil per hour doing marlin. And who cares if you're not getting decent XP? It's you're getting some of the best fish in the entire game. The bluefin tuna are so good. It's crazy how good they are. 5 prayer plus 22 heal. It's okay, pretty much what you did was you release sailing, and it's okay, the previous best in slot food now has 5 prayer on top of it. And you're this is insanely good for an Iron Man. It's so chill.
The XP is not nothing either. It's 25K or so from what I saw, and what are Crambuans 37K fully AFK? So
yeah. It's pretty active is the argument, but I still don't think it should be. I don't think it should be high at all. I do think it should be resource focused. I'd be okay with a bump of 10 or 15K just to make it a little bit, especially since, by the way, there was a blend before where it was 20 whatever K fishing, and then you had 20 whatever K sailing. But when they nerfed the extractor, the rates for sailing went down, and they could have probably just been to compensate, let's put an extra 10, 15K in the fishing side. Because deep sea trawling got hit disproportionately hard by that, right? Because Barracuda trials, you go down from 220K to whatever 210, right? But when you're taking away something that has less sailing XP to begin with, you're taking away a larger percentage of it. So that probably would have been a time to just tack on a little bit of extra XP. But I do agree that it shouldn't be. It's already resource. It's so good for resources, and it does add up if you're doing it.
Yeah, on a long scale. Yeah, definitely.
You just moved up in the Discord chat. Does that make sense?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. I just saw you you moved spaces in the Discord chat.
Oh, weird. I was muted there for a second.
I think I disconnected or something.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I think we're back.
I think we're back. But what I was saying is, I think that they almost accidentally made the best fishing method in the entire game, and I think they'll look at that and they could use it, because I think what they're trying to do with Blood Moon Rise is what we were talking about. Is I think they're trying to make Vampirium its own ecosystem outside of the main game, and I think that's really cool because they were talking about this leechfin fishing and leechfin sandwich. I guess my question would be, how useful do you think the leechfin sandwich and its mechanic will be? How good of food is that going to be considered?
Is it still what it is? Because originally it was going to be the 32 healing effectively, provided you're doing melee.
I think it's still the 32 healing with melee.
Okay, yeah. No, I thought it was.
Or did they change it in the recent thing?
No, I don't know. I just know there's been some stuff around it, but we can operate under that assumption of their
Yeah.
original pitch, and I think it was going to be yeah, a niche solid food. There's a lot of content out there that like is melee specifically. I was thinking it could have some weird potential PvP implication. I just wonder like if you prime that heal, you know, and
Yeah.
then on top, and then at that point you can then eat after and whatever. It just feels like maybe you could have like a pretty big mega heal.
Didn't they say it
Um,
wouldn't work in PvP? I thought I saw that somewhere.
did they
No,
say
no,
that?
no.
Mm.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they said that. I think
Okay.
that the confusion was like the tick rate of normal food is like 2 ticks, and I believe the leech fin sandwich is 9 ticks. I
Okay.
think that's like the delay between eats
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is
yeah.
like 9 tick.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, my concern when it comes to stuff like this is I don't want there to be a melee food and then like a ranged food and like a
Yeah, yeah,
mage
yeah.
food. I don't want
Mhm.
that.
That's a
Um,
fair point. Yeah.
I see that as like a really weird. Like I know they were like we could do specialized foods, and I feel like if they just came out with like a cool fishing method where you can catch these leechfin sandwiches, kind of like I know they were talking about like perilous moons like style fishing, but like improved,
Hmm.
and then you can like just cook them like into like leech fins, and they're like pretty decent food. That would be fine. Or maybe they like I don't know what they could do. They could take your prayer out, like a little bit of prayer for like extra healing or something. But how do you feel about the specialized food discussion, Travag?
Like around specialized styles or
Yeah,
just niche
specialized
food?
styles.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I don't think I'd want like a range food. Like, I don't need tri-bred food.
Yeah, it feels
Like,
weird.
that's weird. I do think like melee though. Like, I see the relation of melee, like with Blood Fury and like
Mhm.
vampires and Leech Fin. It's like that physical contact aspect
Hmm.
that like makes sense to me that I wouldn't then apply to like a range or a mage in the future. But that being said, I mean, who's to say they wouldn't, right? Like we have special attacks, like we have blowpipe special attack, or we have like sang staff that like do these healing things from far, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't I don't think I probably a lot of people wouldn't want something like that, but you could still, you could still create food that's strong with a little niche, right? Your example of like eating and losing prayer points could be a decent one, provided it like makes sense. I'm trying to think if there's ever a case where that would never be a fair trade-off, but stuff like that, is probably the direction I'd wanna go. I also, like, maybe don't think we need to over-index into food.
I
Yeah,
Like,
totally
I
agree with
agree with
this,
that.
by the way.
I think we've got, like, a good roster of food in the game that we've added recently too, right? We got the legacy foods, but then we got the hunter meats, which aren't even, like, ubiquitously used, right? Even
No,
though they're,
Yeah.
like, decent. We've got the marlin and stuff. Are people using the marlin yet, like,
N-
ubiquitously?
no,
Like, I
because
don't see
I
people using it.
yeah, I've been raiding with a lot of mains, and like I have a stack of the what is it, the bluefin that you gave me, the ones that heal prayer. I
Yeah, I
keep
give you
getting marlin and
bluefin,
bluefin,
yeah.
so, but I've been using those, and I'll like drop them or whatever, and people are like, "What are those?" Like, and no one knows what they do. Everyone's shocked to hear they heal prayer. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta
So
like
what? So why do we need to? We haven't fully adopted the new foods yet. Like, well, I don't know if we need to like go into that yet. And I could see the hunter meat one being delayed because like how many people are doing hunter rumors or how many people are like it's not it takes a while to get a lot of the moonlight. But the fishing one, there's almost no excuse. Like you can get a
Yeah.
lot of marlin, a lot of people were
yeah,
sailing, whatever, right? So maybe just park the food reward. We've got a good variety. It does add complexity when you like add a bunch of things like this. I think it's in a good place right now. I think it made sense to add creatures that give meat, not just fish,
right,
right? Like
Yeah.
that's cool that we finally have that. Deep sea trolling just needed to come. Like it just makes sense. And then focus on other things for now, right? I
yeah,
My
think the variety of food is like food can be a lot more linear than like potions or something else. Just
by the nature of
Yeah.
what they are, right?
My issue with Marlin is like when you're playing a single player game and you get like a couple grenade launcher ammo and you're like, I'm gonna need this eventually, and then like you never use it by the end of the game.
Yeah.
That's
Save
my
it for the
issue
late
with
game.
Marlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, my issue with Marlin is like I can't conceptualize a point in my head where I'm like, I need Marlin right now. Like
Yeah.
when I'm doing Doom, I'm trying to get an Ayabayak. So when I'm doing Doom, I use food and prayer pots. Like I don't bring any brews because iron lifestyle. But like that, then I go, okay, bluefin tuna, really useful here because I can get like a little bit of extra prayer plus the same amount of healing. But Marlin, I'm like, when I'm gonna need these 24 heal eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raids
That's how
4,
it
baby.
feels.
No
Yeah,
potions, all
exactly.
hard food.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's the other like food. I like food. Like I feel like there's a lot of content out there. I don't know maybe if it's true or not, but like so much food is like brew, restore, it feels like.
Mhm.
Yep.
I like content sometimes where it's just like bring food and double eat, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like like sometimes it's nice to have stuff like Zolra where it's a quick boss you can get back to so you don't need that supply. And I feel like recently it's been a lot more like attrition or more like, bosses that you would, at least the current content I'm doing, I would probably do more brew and restore stuff.
Yeah.
And then the last
Absolutely.
thing about the foods too, like I absolutely like visually do not like them. Like the marlin and like the way they look.
Oh, interesting.
When they're cooked, like
They look
if you look
different.
at I talked about lobsters at the beginning, right? Like I love the look of lobsters, bright orange,
Yeah.
whatever, right? I love the look of swordfish, purple, whatever. And it's like all these like if you like I cannot put we're supposed to have this new powerful double eat, right? You
Mhm.
can have before it's like let's say you did a shark plus Karamwan or you did a an angler plus Karamwan, whatever, right? You could see it in your inventory. It's there clear. Put halibut beside marlin and it looks so bad.
I
It
agree with
doesn't
this
look
fully.
nice.
I
I
fully agree
hadn't
with
thought
this.
about it, but now I'm like trying to picture in my head. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Yeah.
You probably won't see it a lot because the food's so expensive, and it's like the only
Yeah.
person using it in the wilderness is like Odablock because he's got
Right.
700 bill on his account.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't look good. Like the marlin when it's uncooked looks fine. It's like this kind of blue thing. When it's cooked, it looks brown. And then the halibut when it's cooked, I'm pretty sure is also brown. Did I cook
yeah,
any
it is.
halibut in my bank? Let me check. Yeah, it is, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Ugly.
yeah, the marlin
They
does
look
not look good cooked. I
They
think
look
it looks
so
okay
bad put
uncooked.
together. Like that's your new food. Someone a long time ago, like this is not my idea or anything, but like they recolored the cooked food to be like the classical like bright colors that you get from RuneScape food, and
Mhm.
I would probably honestly use my marlin more just because of that.
Yeah, I'm looking at them. You're so right about that. For both of them,
Yeah.
they're very lame
I think
once they're cooked.
bluefin looks pretty cool when it's
Me
cooked.
too.
It's
That's
just like
why
blue.
I wasn't.
But
I was like, oh, I think it's good, but yeah, I'm just going off the bluefin. Really.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't cooked a bluefin.
they're
Actually,
just bright blue. They're just like a bright blue
Oh.
fish.
I'm
It
gonna
goes
go
right
cook.
around that orange,
Okay,
purple,
cool.
blue. But
Well,
you know what? Something else I have to say about leaning back. Something else I have to say about this like food situation is it's really nice to introduce new food and it's really cool, but I would really love it if there was a way for me to, as like a maxed Iron Man, and I know this is Iron Man brained. I wish there was a way for me to be like cook 5 food at a time or something.
Yeah,
Like
or
put them in a
just slow and
vat.
let them go.
Yeah, just something
Mhm.
slow because it is challenging for me to be like, okay, new best in slot food comes out. I want to get a bunch of it. I'm going to go spend 10 hours catching marlin. And I'm going to get 7,000 marlin. Okay, so now I have 7,000 marlin, and now I have to spend like 7 more hours cooking the marlin. And it's just like, can we just get it so that I get less XP or like no XP beside or whatever to cook like a bunch of food at once?
Or even
Something
That'd be
along
great.
those lines.
built-in like 20% fail rate or something. Like I would still
Something.
use it.
That'd be great. Yeah, I would do it for no XP. Like if I could just put 500 marlin in and come back and then it'd be cooked later, I'd be like, sweet.
Yeah, like you could pay the
or
guy.
like you put it inside and then when you pull it out, you get like it's kind of like you farm, you get like your kind of herbs XP, like the one-time thing. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
little token
Actually,
Yeah.
those maybe not like timer, but anyways, I do think I would like an increase of cooking stuff. It makes me think that why why can't we somehow have something out there that can improve cooking, right? Whether it's a big furnace, whatever, but also be tied to your fire making level.
Like,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Okay.
can we give fire making a use? Like, originally, I'm
Yeah.
I was like ranges have a better cook rate than open fires, which 100% makes sense. But in some ways, I'm like, man, I kind of wish fire making was like the higher
Oh,
fire making you had, the higher like logs you burn, and the cook rate's better or whatever, right?
that
Mhm.
makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but that aside, some form of speed cooking that did take into account fire making, like maybe you port some of the XP towards fire making and cooking and
Yeah.
whatever, because no one cares about fire making XP, even cooking XP. No one really cares that much.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Oh,
that could be a cool thing that they could
yeah,
do
like
to solve a couple things.
what if in Vampirium, and I'm now we're just talking about Blood Rises, but like what if there's something that's just like there's a wood burning stove and you have to add in like a certain
Redwood
level
coals
of
or
you just put in like, or even like you put in like redwood logs, and then you could like cook on this wood burning stove, and like whatever log you have makes you cook food faster.
Yeah,
And even if it's like, okay, you're going to get less XP because this is about cooking food, not about getting XP from cooking the food. Also, you know what? I don't really think anyone cares about power creeping cooking XP. This is another thing. It's like, dude, it's
Yeah.
already 1 million XP per hour if you're one taking Karambans.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's true.
we don't need to go, as long as we're not passing the 1 million XP per hour mark, I think we're okay.
Yeah,
It's like,
I don't think the XP is a problem. Like that can always be adjusted, but I don't think cooking is a sacred one at all. And by the way, I love the idea of a planet with these grotesque creatures and vampires having wood burning ovens to like
Yeah, right.
keep that.
What
or
are they
something.
using those for?
They're like, finally, you brought these logs. We don't even have anything to put in these. They're just like,
We've been doing the whole blood and raw meat thing just out of like not having logs.
we introduced
Anything in our life, yeah.
we introduced wood. We ruined their whole economy.
Yeah.
Like blood shards are in the toilet now that you guys did this. They're like, oh my god.
We find ourselves apologizing a lot for our iron centric takes. Do you feel like you have to apologize for iron centric takes often, Travag?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's like there's like the philosophy of catering for Iron Men and whatnot that we have to like balance against, right? Because we don't want to cater for Iron Man. A lot of the times, though, I think there is a sense of, okay, is it catering for Iron Man, or is it potentially just good game design?
Yeah,
right?
That's a fair point.
Right.
But because sometimes, like, I'm not saying you need to make things like for Iron Man, but if something is like, hey, there's going to be this activity where it's going to like get you to engage in multiple aspects and whatever. Oh, well, this is kind of catering for Iron Man. Well, part of it just might be that it's like that's how a good game design can be made, like when you're using the entire world. But then there's the other aspect, I guess, of catering for Iron Man, which could be like drop rate related and whatever. I don't know, but that's a whole different
dry
discussion.
protections and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, dry protection. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the last thing I wanted to talk about with Blood Moon Rises was actually like the power rewards. So we have the Seeker Arrows, the Necklace of Rupture, and I don't actually know. Is it the Crimson Kiston was the name they decided on?
Yeah.
For the Crush Claws. I want to know, do you think that range is going to be way too OP with the Seeker Arrows and Necklace of Rupture combo in a lot of traditional melee and even mage places?
Ooh, good question. Obviously, so the Necklace of Rupture is just going to be a buff to range.
Yep.
And like that's normal to me. That's fine. I don't care. The Seeker Arrows, though, I don't think that's buffing range much. Because they add a minimum hit, right? But they don't.
Yeah, they increase your minimum hit to 3, but there was a really specific with the rolls. Like, so people were worried that it was going to roll 3 to whatever, but that's not what's happening. It rolls 1, 1, 2, 3, and if you get 1, 1, or 2, it just ends up being a 3. So if you get what I'm saying, kind of like the Fang works.
Rounds all damage below up to 3.
Yeah, it doesn't start at 3. It rounds the.
Oh, so you're going to see
damage up.
proportionally more 3s than anything.
Yes,
Right.
like 5 times more 3s or something.
3 times.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of annoying, but if they have to do that, that's fine. But I think the point that I want to make is like whenever we think about range, in my opinion, like power creeping it, 2 weapons come to mind, right?
Yeah.
The blowpipe and the T-bow, right? and the secret arrows don't buff either of them proportionally as much as other range gear does. So when you add range strength, like the new amulet, like that's going to make the T-bow better because of how it scales, right? And that's going to make the blowpipe better than other range stuff because the blowpipe's faster. So those two items are going to get more of a benefit from the extra strength, right? But the seeker arrows is like a level playing field for things that shoot with arrows, right? So like a T-bow is going to get just as buffed as what other weapons shoot
Like an
bows?
MSB would be.
Like
I
an
think
MSB or a Venator bow,
the Venator
right?
bow is the big one where you get like literally like 9 minimum hit on everything.
Oh wow, yeah.
On every bounce, it rolls.
Yeah. That makes sense. But those are the same. But that's leveling up on the same level. Maybe even because it's faster than T-bow. It's actually all other range weapons are actually getting more buffed than T-bow, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually a positive thing because, like I said, the more range strength we add, the more T-bow and the more blowpipe are going to get further ahead. But something like this is actually very minorly buffing something like a Venator bow more than a T-bow, right?
Right.
So that's cool. And it overall it's only affecting a certain class of weapons, right? Like again, the blowpipe, nothing, Bofa, nothing, like your typical range weapons, ZCB, nothing. So I'm not worried about power creep with the Seeker arrows, and I'm happy with the fact that they are actually buffing a couple weapons more than a T-bow or a blowpipe. So that's cool.
And they have to start somewhere too, right? Like they're going to start in range. I'm sure they're going to, bring, maybe if that makes it past melee and mage for a little while, they'll bring those other two up to speed. They can't do it all at once necessarily. And I think that's okay to not have the meta be perfectly balanced at all times.
Dude, I don't think there's one style that is stronger than the other. I don't think gear is what dictates that. I think what dictates what style is better than the other is what we're fighting. Because the only thing that matters is what the creature is weak against.
Right.
If they only exclusively started releasing things that are weak to melee, but every single reward was like 10 range strength, 10 range strength. Yeah, I guess existing content, sure, obviously, power creeped. But like melee is also going to become stronger because all these things are weak to melee. So it's not just straight, hey, new gear means power creep. We have to equally consider the creatures themselves that are getting released. And the more new creatures they release, the harder they're going to make them just because we are getting stronger, right?
Right.
There's going to be a power creep with creatures just as much as there's a power creep with players, ideally, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okay, now that we got that, now this is the real topic I wanted to talk about you with because I saw your video on it. Was the Mega Rare from Raids 4, the Fractured Archive. So I saw your Crush Mega Rare idea, and I think that's where a lot of people are leaning. But I just want to know, do you believe that a Mega Rare weapon from a raid has to be a 5-tick weapon?
Easy answer is no. Like, I don't think it has to be a 5-tick weapon. I do think 5-tick weapons can feel good. They can feel weighty. They don't feel too slow. It's like a nice range. But I don't think it's absolutely necessary. And I also don't think that, like, in that video, right, I basically said, well, we can do a Crush Scythe, right? And that's because, like, it will work. Like, it will 100%
it's gonna
work.
Be good.
It won't not be powerful. You won't have a situation like the Heka of Tumakin, right? It's going to be strong. It's going to have its use cases. Even if it feels like Crush isn't used a lot right now, the raid itself is probably going to have it. And then the Scythe was like pretty useless like 4 years ago until they added like slash weakness against, I don't know, 5 different things. So yeah, I think no, it doesn't have to be. If you want to try to explore a faster weapon or a slower weapon, you could. At the same time, I feel like there's still design space out there before we have to think about venturing into like, oh, we're out of, just because we have the Trinity, right? Like there's like it's sort of like your family and then your extended family. We still have like the extended portion of combat we can still deal with, the subtypes, right? And then beyond that, then you get into like raids like 5 or 6 potentially. Then it's maybe like we need to be a little more creative. But I'm also 100% down for different types of weapons. I saw a couple on Reddit that were just like really damn cool
Mhm.
that I think would be a great mega rare and don't feel too um, like niche or strange. I don't know if you guys have seen a couple suggestions. If not,
I
I
only
can.
s- I only saw one, which was the one where the guy was like, depending on how long the creature is, the
Mm.
weapon drags through them and does more damage or something like that. I saw that. But what other ones have you seen?
Yeah, no, I saw one that was like it was like a kind of like a chain type weapon. It could be crush or stab. Um, kind of like if you think Lord of the Rings, like the Witch King type vibe.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
And it's like, but if you're holding it like close to you, basically instead of having crush slash whatever, it would have like short, medium, long, for example.
Ooh.
And like short, it's a 3-tick weapon, right? It's not like, in my opinion, I wouldn't make it overly strong. This would just be a 3-tick weapon, right? It would be like a better ham joint. So it would be like, oh, maybe you use it at Nilo's, maybe you lose it at Nightmare. You use it at any place where you got to take out a mob really quickly, right?
Mhm.
Then you have like the middle range, which is your like 4-tick weapon. This might be something similar to like, I don't know, whatever it could be.
Ink mace or something like along those
Yeah.
lines.
And I think the way that one worked was it was like, I have to remember if it was like it needed a creature, like if it went, I think it went 2 tiles out. So it would be like not as strong as Ink Mace on a 1x1, but maybe like on par or better on a 2x2 at least. And then the
Mhm.
last mode was like it would go 3 tiles out, and that's like your slow 5-tick whatever. And it can hit 3 hit splats and whatever. So it's kind of a cool option. I like that, and it's dedicated one style. I don't like that Scythe has Crush, for example. So that could work. That's what I'm trying to remember. I think that's what it was sounding like.
That's a
It sounded
cool
like the
one.
one you almost described, but maybe it was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that we talk about with when it comes to mega rares is we've been like going. Let me ask you, Travag, do you play leagues or no?
I do, yeah. I dabble.
So in Raging Echoes, in Leagues 5, there was the Thousand Dragon Ward. And this
Mhm.
was just like a mega best in slot shield for like all styles, pretty much, if I remember correctly. And it had a lot of cool effects where it protected you. Does a mega rare, do we even need the mega rare to be a weapon? Would be the question that I would want to propose. Like, could it be something like the Thousand Dragon Ward that's
Mhm.
just like a Giga Shield and it props up single hand weapons so that it doesn't really encroach on the mega rares too much because you're propping up the Blade of Seldor, the Ink Mace, the ZCB, the Trident, or the Sang.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I think that answer depends on what year it is.
Fair
Does it
enough.
does it need to be a weapon? I think by today's standards, like I still think a mega rare should be a weapon. I don't know. I feel like you can't excite players enough to pitch a mega rare right now that isn't a weapon. I just can't envision it, given that there is space, especially to still make a weapon.
Yeah.
Weapons are fun, man. What like it's fun to have like a big meat stick or an interesting weapon like that does something niche. Like think of like what's your most exciting non-weapon if you had one currently
Mm.
Ooh.
right now?
For me, it's got to be okay. So this is an interesting answer, but I spooned an Ellie at like 36 KC on this Iron Man, like doing solo corp. So a really interesting thing that I was thinking about was if I was on a main, I would like be able to just like just sell this thing. But because I'm on an Iron Man, there's these like weird niche uses that I get out of it because I'm not gonna drop it over to a main.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so for me right now, the fact that I spooned it and the fact that it has these like niche uses that I'm using because I have to keep it. It is very interesting. That's like my
Yeah.
favorite thing.
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
add maybe Light Bearer to that because it's like such a unique
Ooh.
effect. Or right now, I'm really excited about I just finished, I got the bottom of the ink armor, so I have top and bottom now. And having a set effect is really interesting to me. I think those would be my two.
Yeah, I think I think I'm thinking about like something like an alley, right? And I'm trying to think of a situation where it's like, is there ever going to be not specifically alley, but I'm thinking like a power shield does this effect.
Yeah.
Am I ever going to be wielding it and feeling like the same feeling of when I have a shadow or a scythe
Right.
or
Yeah.
a T-bow, and
No,
it
you
goes
won't.
like bam, big time.
That's
I don't know.
true.
Maybe like I don't know if you like end up absorbing a ton of damage, could feel good. I don't know. But light bear is a good one though. Like there are times where in leagues where you can do like 5 specs, for example. Like
Yeah.
that's not tied to a weapon, right?
Right.
And that feels awesome. So maybe there is a mega rare out there that maybe it improves your DPS in a different way. So it's like it's not a weapon, but it's a DPS increase.
Yeah.
But man, that'd be so hard to balance as well. Like light bear is so strong as it is. If you
It
make like a
really
mega rare
is.
version.
It's
You could
best in so
literally
many
go for no.
situations.
You could literally go for no other ring if you wanted to after
Yeah.
you got a light bear, and it would be like pretty comparable to like Ultor and all these other things in places.
Especially once you start getting
Um,
into like
Awesome.
Void Wakers, ECB, those kind of things. It's just like
Yeah.
it's so much DPS added on.
Yeah, when I go to TOA now and I'm like ZCBing everything with light bear on, it's just like I'm getting like 4 ZCBs. Like,
Yeah.
I think like on Warden when I have spec pot and ZCB and light bear, it's like I'm ZCB specking 4 times in a row with a surge potion. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
Um,
wonder about a mega rare not weapon, like which I would when you mentioned that question, I assumed more or less like defensive, not like offensive.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but I think a lot of the times people want to think about a defensive use case. I'm like, we think about how we try to balance content and DPS and time to kill when we have mega rare weapons that deal like a lot of damage. I wonder how it would be to balance content when people have a defensive option that seriously helps them mitigate damage they're taking.
Yeah, like if you had we were just talking
Yeah.
we were just talking about this, but if you
Flat
had
armor.
like flat armor on the shield, like 5 flat armor, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so now when I'm doing Vard, anytime he hits me under a 5, he's hitting me a 0, and then when he's hitting like up to his like 9 or whatever he can hit, he's only hitting me a 4. Like that might actually increase your DPS because you don't have to eat mid kill.
Mhm.
There's weird situations where chip damage or like Zulrah, like stuff like that, where chip damage actually reducing that number will increase your DPS overall.
Right.
Yeah, flat armor, like shield or flat armor thing actually sounds really cool. I don't think it's a mega rare. If it was a mega rare, it'd have to be really strong. But
Right.
my point is that like if you make something strong that's defensive, like I feel like it'd be so hard for Jagex to build content in the future because they have to be like, okay, imagine these people's coming in here who can put on this item. How much easier is it going to make it? So how much harder do we have to make it to compensate for that? And then people who don't have that weapon all of a sudden are jumping into content where their main gripe is not I don't have enough DPS anymore and the kills are slow. Their main gripe is holy shit, this thing destroys me because I don't have something that's helping me
Yeah.
to stay alive.
Yeah, it's tough though because it does have to be good because right now everything is like defense is just useless compared to having more DPS. But and I also think we had the kind of vision where now we don't have a mega rare that's encroaching on the first 3 mega rares. We have one that would bring one-handed weapons into the meta more. So it kind of makes everything the mega rare or everything one-handed the mega rare rather than, having to design another 2-handed mega rare. So just an idea, but yeah, it's interesting to hear your perspective on
that's
it.
an interesting one, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think just there's so much nuance that and there's so much like design space right now that the simplest approach is still a weapon and probably like a slowish weapon and whatever. And I feel like we're having these discussions now because we have 3 different weapons, and it just feels like the first inflection point of
Right.
like, well, we have the 3 mega rares now, so now what? But I feel like there's probably a better future inflection point for when we have like a larger suite of main weapons
Yeah, I don't know.
where we need to think about it.
I think this is the time, like we have the 3 that kind of follow the same format. I think this is the inflection point where we like kind of make a change, and this sets maybe the standard for the next 3. So
I'm so in the middle of the 2 of you right now where I'm like, I'm like, it would be cool. Because I mean, Max, we've talked about how me and you bounce back and forth on this topic all the time, like where we change sides on it. And one of the main gripes me and you have had is like you talking about we still have niches to fill out, and it's okay to fill out those niches. And I feel like that's where like a 5-tick Crush Mega Rare would come in. But then you have the other side where it's like the shield, where you're like, okay, this would bring other things up. But
we definitely keep flip flopping too. So
I don't think
that's kind of a good thing, I guess.
Why don't we have both?
Yeah.
Honestly,
why don't we
2
build
mega rares?
No, 1 mega rare. 1 mega rare. That is
yeah.
like in one state. Imagine a bulwark that actually like does kind of what it's supposed to do. In one state, I complete like crush, awesome, whatever. But when used completely differently, an awesome defensive option.
Oh man.
Right? And you can't do both. You can't just flip flop whatever. There's like some way to like maybe you have to like go to like something you have
Otto's
to like
Grotto.
No, you got to go to like an anvil or some special like anvil to like change its mode or whatever. I don't know. It's probably really stupid, but you'd be able to have both though from one item, which would be
yeah. They're having a ton of trouble designing 1 mega rare. Let's do
Let's
2.
Yeah.
Slap 2 in there, baby.
No, it does sound like a really cool idea though. I kind of like that kind of thing, like with changing the Zami spear back and forth to the hostile, which no one really does anymore, obviously. But yeah, that's an interesting idea.
In retrospect, it sounds kind of bad, but maybe it is something more active during a fight where it's like a weapon that can deal damage in certain moments, but then be defensive in others. And maybe the use case for that is like certain bosses. There are DPS windows and times where you can deal like good damage, and there's other times where you're like not able to, and that's like the good time to like switch to that kind of mode or whatever.
I haven't heard anything like that. Now you're thinking, you're cooking. I like it.
Literally off the dome, always off the dome in podcast.
What we really can do too is really piss everybody off and make it drop in 2 parts, an offensive part and a defensive part,
dude.
and then make it so that there's no dry protection and they both are mega rare rate. So that way you get 10 of one of them and just fucking
torturing us now.
That doesn't sound you joke, but if you got one half and it's like the offensive half, and you still had the full capabilities of that offensive half or the defense, it would be troll to get the defense one, obviously. But yeah, and not for anything. It is. I know it's the Gothics archive. It's not all things in there are Gothics. It's probably mostly non-Gothics things. But that to me sounds very balanced. Having the idea of offense and defense being something you go between.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. On that topic, there's a couple more questions I want about raids 4. One of them is everyone's talking about armor and what can they do as a magic armor. People have pitched like elemental armor and stuff along those lines. My question is kind of, do we need to worry about power creeping Ancestral out of the game? Not out of the game, but do we need to worry about power, like releasing a new mage armor that's +4 strength on everything, and it's just baseline, best in slot for mage? Or should we go down the line of like an elemental set? What would be your preference in armor in general in the raid?
Okay. So if you watched my video for the raids 4, it was before Jagex put out their like what their thoughts were.
Yeah.
And I like in that video I was like elemental armor set. Like that's been my front runner for a long time. Like it just works for me. We talk about magic being like shadow this, shadow that. Like this would just make like open up probably a couple use cases for elemental in different places. For the harm staff, for the dragon hunter wand, stuff like that. But shadow would still be largely dominant, and it's easy to like balance like how strong something is because you have this lever of weakness that you can apply on a monster, right? So that's my front runner. Like I don't have too many thoughts on that. When Jagex mentioned it, I was like, I agree. Now in terms of like ancestral power creep, man, ancestral is a very hard one to power creep. And I know it's because it's old. People are thinking about it, but it's like, is it going to be upgradescape? Like, what would be, or is it just not useful anymore? Like, what would you be thinking when you think power creep to 4%?
The way I think about it is specifically because chambers drop rates are the way they are, and that's a whole separate topic. Ancestral is this. Like we run simulators on like drops, like 1,000 of TOA because we've been so dry. We've been running like 1,000 TOA simulators
on
like
so
stuff
I
like
do
that.
it all the time.
Yeah. So with chambers, there's frequently you'll run 1,000 chambers and you will not have full ancestral.
Yeah.
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah.
It seems like for the power level that it is, which is obviously best in slot, it feels like it should be more available than it is. Like when you look at
Yeah.
Missouri
Mhm.
or Justishire, like you go for Scythe, 9 out of 10 times, if not more, you're getting those sets. Like you're getting those full sets. But Chambers is not the same when it comes to Ancestral. So the reason
Well,
I think about
go ahead, finish
oh,
your
no,
thought.
oh yeah, the reason I think about Power Creep is even if it was like an elemental set, would you be okay with that elemental set being equivalent to Ancestral or no?
Ooh.
Like having the 3%
Baseline
and then
equivalent before
yeah,
the
baseline equivalent, and it also has an elemental effect on top of it.
I see. So it's like an alternative option to having
Right.
Ancestral for people. Um, it kind of helps to, yeah.
It's
That's not a
specifically a Chambers problem. It really.
Yeah, it sounds like we're trying to solve for the Chambers problem. So I guess that there, if it's like I think you'll probably get some backlash of being like, what's the point? But I get your thinking of like it being like maybe you got one piece of Ancestral and two pieces of this or something.
Yeah,
That could
exactly.
potentially work. And by the way, speaking of Ancestral, I don't know if everybody realizes this because we talk about the Tebow, right? But like getting full Ancestral takes longer than getting the Tebow. Like,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, let's look at the drop rates. Hold on. Let me open
It
it up.
makes sense
Ancient
just because
chest.
it's three things that are like nearly. It's probably Tebow's 1 in 32. Ancestral's like what 1 in.
1 in 23.
Okay.
So it's 50% rare to get a Tebow or something like that, right? But you need 3 pieces. So
And specific
if
pieces too makes it a
Yeah,
little
3
bit.
non-dupes.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
like begs the
so
question: should they make it so that it's like Moon's armor, where like you get piece after piece because it's
even
so
if you
rare?
got piece over piece, yeah,
I don't
it
think they can
still takes
change that.
longer to get full Ancestral than it does to get a Tebow. It's
Yeah.
like I think I did the math before, and I think it was like the rate to go to get your Tebow is like what 1,000 solos or something. And it was like 1,500 to get full Ancestral. I don't know. It was maybe not that high, but you're more likely to get a Tebow than you are to get full Ancestral. And everyone talks about how bad the Tebow rate is. So
Yeah.
it's pretty bad. So I feel like I still like the Ancestral armor. I think maybe what you could do is something like you're describing, like that doesn't necessarily break anything. That could work, help to fill in that gap. People might still call it the elemental armor set for the most part because,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe you could do something where it does drop an upgrade that gives like 3% per piece, or no, Ancestral's now 3%. They buffed it a while
yeah,
ago,
it's
right?
3. Yeah,
Maybe it gives like 4% per piece, but when you like combine your Ancestral with it, then you have 5% or something like that, right? So it's
yeah.
kind of like Ancestral, it's upgradescape, but also standalone, it's better. I don't know. There's a couple paths you could go. But I think, again, clean solution is still the elemental set because you're not stepping on the toes of that. And also, it helps to bridge a little bit of the gap between.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Right.
it's going to open up cases where elemental will be better. It'll depend on the numbers, but just there are cases right now in the game where it's like, ooh, if elemental was just a little bit better here, it would be better than Shadow.
I think
And
Definitely.
Hand is like one of those
Yeah.
cases where it's
I think
really
that
exactly
thing
with
close.
is.
Dragon Hunter Wand, like, oh my god, it
It rips.
Yeah.
destroys.
Yeah. I use it all the time.
And
We
a lot of people don't know this too, but like, I think I could be wrong. It's close, but when you use Ice Barrage on Ulm, it's like very much the same DPS as using the weakness, the Earth weakness surge or
Really
whatever. Yeah, because you're still
interesting.
getting the benefit of the dragon
Yeah.
bane,
The Dragonbane
right?
wand.
But the minimum hit, right, is increased on Ice Barrage compared to the maximum hit, right? Like it's like a 20 for surge versus like a 30 for thing. So it's
Huh.
making up for the elemental weakness in a lot of
I'm gonna have
cases.
to try that out for sure.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't.
I'm gonna start barraging hands
It's just
now.
Yeah.
it's just a thought thing. Like I don't think DPS it might be slight, but like the cost is ridiculous. But the other thing that makes funny is blood barrage. Technically, you could just like relatively melt it with blood barrage while healing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Huh.
and
I feel like that could have some
probably
use cases in like
be
yeah, like crazy scaled raids or something like that.
Yeah, no, like I think it was like pretty much the same DPS as the elemental weakness. So that's funny in my opinion. That shouldn't exist like
Yeah.
that, but it does because of how much stronger the ancient spellbook is. But it could be some weird niche.
Yeah.
But no, if elemental armor existed though, like that would probably blow it away because it'd be I don't know if it'd be 5% per piece or 10% per piece. I don't know the math. They'd figure it out, but it would blow it away. And then
there'd just be like a lot of like, I don't know. I know Nightmare Pillars. It would definitely be because that's 70% weak.
Hmm.
There's a lot of 50% weak monsters, and it's always a lever. I just love it being a lever. Sometimes we don't change values maybe often enough, but it would be very possible to tweak something by 10 or 15% elemental wise weakness, and it would all of a sudden surpass by like a certain amount compared to Shadow. So yeah, long-winded answer for my very simple start, which is that I'm team elemental armor.
I'm back on team after that
I am
rant. I'm back
too.
on team elemental for sure. I think
And
that plus maybe adding. I've been saying it a lot, but like that plus maybe for CMs taking the scrolls out of the pool, or like really lowering the chance of getting them, to maybe make you be able to hunt down some of the crazy long grind chambers stuff. I think that would like bring everything to the right place personally.
yeah,
I think
also
I mean, chambers should be like there's
looked at.
so many moments in time where it's like this is the right time to look at chambers.
Yeah.
And Raids 4 is another one upcoming where it's like this is the time to look at chambers. And I think one of my summer sweep ups, like, what do you want in summer sweep ups? I'm like chambers. Like
Yeah.
change the rates, or do what you're saying, like with the CM, where you like get a lot less scrolls or whatever. Like do something to make chambers better. I'm still hunting a T-bow as well. I'm like 1,000 raids T-bow. I don't have
Oof.
Dragon Claws. It's just, it is what it is. I don't have a
Yeah.
scythe either. But yeah.
Yeah, even on the topic of, you said something about breaking down armor earlier too, and I was always on the anti-breakdown raids armor kind of feeling. Like if you have to use ancestral to get the elemental armor, like it just wouldn't feel good, especially when it comes from a raid baseline. Like Armadillo is fine and Bandos is fine because they come from like an easier source. But I actually was thinking about, and Max and I have talked about this with Justiciar and Ink, if you could break down either of the pieces, and like if you could break down ancestral or this new elemental armor set and like put them together, like vice versa, it would be really solid.
Right, that takes out the
Actually-
need to have all three pieces specifically of
Right.
ancestral, and kind of makes chambers more relevant in a way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, more and less. It's like both. It's like both at the
Right,
same time. It's
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
It depends.
If you're in chambers and you're like, you got spoon ancestral, whatever, it makes it more relevant. If you're in chambers and the last piece you're missing is like 1 or 2 pieces of ancestral, then it's like, oh, screw chambers, I'm leaving.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I have one last quick question, and just rapid fire question. Should Pures have access to the Fractured Archive? Because
dude,
They won't right now if they release it behind While Gothic Sleeps.
I thought you were gonna meme me being like, should we reduce the cost of membership and give Pures access? Like those ones. Like,
I thought you were memeing me up, dude. I'm so like, I've never, like, this is another case where when I was doing RuneScape as a kid and as an adult and people started talking pures, I'm like, what the hell's a pure? Like I was like out of the loop or whatever. So I don't have strong pure opinions, but just from a like purist perspective, I don't know. My gut reaction is just like, if your account is limited to X defense or whatever, and you can't do something that requires defense, then that's your account. That's your choice.
That's my
So,
gut reaction too.
I don't know. That's my gut reaction to it. But
Yours are weak.
at the same time, most people are doing it for PvP purposes, right? Like unlike people who make restrictions for themselves because they are making like a certain Iron Man account or a certain Snowflake account, and they put a restriction, and then it's like, well, then don't do that restriction or don't be an Iron Man. That's like maybe potentially different, because for PvP they're just trying to make like a PvP account that like can deal X damage, and when new rewards come out that they can't use or whatever, or can't access. I don't know, dude. I don't know enough about this stuff to
Yeah,
really
it's a
have
hard
a formed
question.
opinion. Yeah.
It is a
I'd
tough
probably
one.
just say no, but they said that they were gonna somehow allow it, right?
They said they were going to talk about it, I think.
Yeah, there's been a little back and forth, I think.
I would say no. Like if this was like RuneScape of like 10 years ago, this would be a no questions. Like this is not happening, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on your side where it's just if you have a restricted account and then you're like placing that restriction on yourself, it is what it is. Like you
Right.
can't.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Travag, that's all we have for you. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to shout out or anything you're working on that you want to shout out quick?
No, I think we're pretty good. There's a lot going on. This is a case where, like RuneScape, I'm like not playing as much. I'm spending more time like, well, building things and doing things, but also like the game right now, the release schedule. Like I like permanent content, and the first half of the year is basically like seasonal game modes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy them, but I play them for like 3-4 days usually, and then I move on. So really, I'm probably going to be relatively casual until like a week of leagues, and then from then on, I'm going to be relatively casual probably until Blood Moon Rises.
Cool.
Right, but in the meantime, just try to keep up with the updates as much as I can. Are there any games you guys play when you're not playing RuneScape?
League of
What are you guys
Legends.
into?
A little Apex here and there. I haven't played in a while. I like every once in a while I find out like a good RPG to play. That's about
Nice.
it.
I'm one
I
of
don't know
those
if you-
people who go into Steam and kind of see what the new releases are and try to see if
yeah,
anyone
yeah.
kind of popped off recently. But yeah.
It's always fun with
Yeah, I
friends
don't-
like to play a little game on Steam that's not too like absorbing.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know if you've played any ARAM Mayhem, but that's the greatest game mode League of Legends has ever released. So it's
Oh,
amazing.
really? Yeah, I've been playing Deadlock a little bit here and there, and they
Ooh,
have
that's
like
good, dude.
they have like an ARAM mode that they just so I've literally only done a little bit of that. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I
Uh,
haven't seen that. But
It's cool. It's like it's ARAM, but instead of you like buying weapons and stuff, it like offers you choices. So it's like roguelike.
Wait, so this is funny. Have you played Arena in League or no? Like the new Arena
No,
mode?
that's beyond my time. Yeah.
So pretty much what it is exactly what you're saying. Like you get choices of like power-ups.
Mhm.
And like throughout the game, you get like in ARAM, throughout the game, you get like 4 choices and you get to roll those choices, and it just makes you like giga powerful in certain like setups pretty much. So it's like the
Yeah.
same kind of concept.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like stuff like that. I like
Yeah.
I like random stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see. I thought maybe this upcoming league would be different in that sense, but it looks like it's going to be similar in terms of
Yeah.
like progression and relics.
It
But I
does,
thought they were
yeah.
going to go a different direction and do more of like either like a different progression tree or like a roguelike type thing. But
I kind of did too,
we'll
to
see.
be honest, but it still looks cool. I'm excited for it. I like not starting in the same like cookie cutter place, so that'll be fun.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm incredibly excited for some of the stuff you have coming up, and we will definitely have to check back in with you sometime. We really, really appreciate all your time.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you both. That was fun.
Awesome. Well,
But
we'll talk to you guys later.
peace.